Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? So let's get going. Tonight I am taking a look at Periphery's newest album entitled Periphery for Hail Stan. Now I've already have reviewed a album of theirs about a year ago, but if you don't know who Periphery is, they are a progressive metal / gent / progressive metalcore band from Washington, D.C. Now, how did we get here? Well, I talked about their album from 2016 about a year or so ago and really enjoyed it. At first listen, I had it in my lower top 50s, but now going back to it, there's a lot of very solid songs on here, from Marigold to Absalom to Stay Indoors to my personal favorite, Loon, and my second favorite, The Way the News Goes. There's so many great songs on here that I probably would have put in now in my top 25, maybe even top 20. I would have to go back to my list, but that would definitely be up there now. So from there, the band left Sumerian Records and now formed their own label, 3 Dot Recordings, and Adam Nolly Getgood, who was a former bassist of the band, came back to play music on this one after working on Haken's newest album, Vector. So with a new label and a new chance to do some more creative ideas, how did the sound turn out? Well, what I love about this album is that they do go for a lot more creative ideas, making for some more diverse songs. If you look at the album, you notice that the first song right off the bat is a almost 17-minute song in the form of Reptile, a very slow burn of a song that uses a lot of ideas that it had used before from the previous album, but use it more effectively on a longer song. Lenny Slaw, a longtime collaborator and arranger for Periphery, did a lot of live orchestrations on this album, and this song is no exception. There's a lot of great string parts in here that give this song more depth so that you can withstand a almost 17-minute song. It is a slow burn though. The main idea of this song is about 8 minutes long, and then it changes over to a more subdued part about 8 minutes in and has a beautiful melody over there. But again, you have 8 minutes of ebb and flow ideas throughout there, and then you get a couple more different change in sounds throughout the rest of the song. I will say that it is a little bit too long, and I can understand if it's hard to digest for a new fan. A 17-minute song is hard to do in general, and to have it at the first song of the album, that can be hard. It is the longest song that they have ever done by, I believe, 2 minutes. But it is a great ebb and flow song that overstays its welcome just a little bit at the end, but it's a fun ride in general. It also features vocals from Mike Goodman, who is the lead vocalist of the band Sixth. After getting through a very powerful opener, you get to Blood Eagle. This kind of song borrows ideas from the previous album, but is, to me, a little bit more interesting. This is the first time where you hear a little bit more of a chromatic idea in the melody rather than a more diatonic. You do get a little bit of that in Reptile in the slower part, but this is showing where Sotelo has done great work on his voice and his melodies, and it pays off. This song, with a lot of screaming, does have some really cool points of clean vocals and more hushed ideas. My favorite part being when those clean vocals come in and it's at first pretty quiet, and then it goes into a part where he is singing much louder, his more forceful range, but then also does a little bit of screaming at the end of the idea. This is a song that has really cool chord progression, and because of that, makes for a very interesting melody line as well as a very hard-hitting and very sinister song. Then we get into Church Burner, where the band uses some influences in their music. For example, Church Burner is a song that has the style of Dillinger Escape Plan in there. I definitely hear that a lot, but it's a really fun song, the shortest song on the album, but it doesn't shy away from packing a punch. Another song with a more chromatic approach to melody, but again makes for a really hard-hitting sound that you've grown to know from Periphery. So after a couple of very hard-hitting songs with a lot of screaming, we get into Garden in the Bones. Probably the song that's closest to a normal song on Periphery's terms. Something that you could definitely have heard off of Periphery 3. But it does also implement some ideas that we haven't really heard from this band. It uses this programming, glitchy yet subdued part in the middle where all the band breaks off and just has that. And it's actually hinted at the end of Church Burner in this glitchy way at the outro. I like how it's hinted at in one song and then brought into the very next song. The melody on here is fantastic. Sotelo sounds so good on the melody throughout the whole entire song, so powerful. It makes for one of my favorite tracks on the album. I will say it does feel like there's a false ending at one point, but to me it's only a 5-minute song, so even with that false ending and then going out for maybe another minute, not really much of a problem to me. One of my favorite melodies on the album uses a lot of approaches for the half step that I really like, and it makes for a fantastic song basically at the halfway point. Then we get to It's Only Smiles, which is another clean vocal song with a little bit of screaming at the end. This one is one of the more approachable songs in the album. Sounds a little bit like they're getting influences from A Day to Remember, but I do like the more complex guitar work on here, and another really good melody line. It does get a little bit simplistic and a little bit poppy on the chorus, but it's still a really, really fun song for me. What I also do think is funny is I think they found it a little bit too pop, a little bit too mainstream. So on the second verse, they changed from being in 4/4 to being in 7/8, which reminds me a lot of, from this year, Untethered Angel from Dream Theater, where they were also doing a little bit something formulaic, so they tried to break the mold in such a way that it's like, hey, we'll give you another reason to listen. But all in all, it's a phenomenal song as well. Then we get to the last 3 songs before the closer, each of them having a little bit of an issue for me. Nothing that destroys the songs in particular, but do make them some of the weaker songs of the album. The first one is Follow Your Ghost. Also does use a lot of more chromatic ideas in the melody, but to me the melody isn't as interesting, and the screams we've already kind of heard before, but this is more of a slower one that stays a little bit longer, so to me it doesn't work as well. There is also a really cool bridge part with piano and more subdued. I love the melody on there, and I love the idea of using 6/8 and then going into 4/4, but it doesn't stay long enough for it to save the beginning part of the song. Then we get into Crush, which is another really approachable song, which is a little bit more industrial sound that sounds a little bit like a Nine Inch Nails song, think closer in terms of the use of the industrial sounds and just the pace of the song. It's one of the longer ones, and it does overstay a little bit too long, but I do like the melody on there. The one other problem that I have with it, though, is like with Church Burner, there are a couple songs that have a little bit of these outro ideas, and like I said before, there is some violent instrumentation on this album and arrangements of that, but the outro for Crush is really, really, really weird. It is this string part that's really fast paced and kind of like a more atonal sound, but then you also get these electronic drums in there, which to me makes for this really, really weird sound after the song that was. Honestly, the first time I was listening to it, I was walking to work, and I thought it was a ad for a game on YouTube. That's how out of place it was to me. But I think the overall song is good enough that it doesn't destroy the album. And then we also get Sentient Glow, which feels like an Avenged Sevenfold song circa Waking the Fallen. A fun song, very fast paced on the guitars, but again, not the most memorable song, and feels a little bit out of place compared to everything else that's going on. However, it does meld into my favorite song on the album, the closer, Satellites. Satellites is a 9-minute song, a slow burn, along the lines of Loon from the previous album. And when I first started listening to it, I was like, this is just copying Loon. It's not going to be that great. It's incredible. It's probably my favorite Periphery song, easily my favorite song of the year so far. What makes it so amazing is the slow burn and the emotion on here. There's some great false starts and parts where it gets down to just piano, and then Matt Halpern comes in with the drums, and he does this really cool idea where he's doing a little bit of drumming and then he lets off for a second to go back in. I really like that, and it keeps building in such a good way, honestly, to me. It never feels like we're approaching something in such a weird way, like how the heck did we get here? To me, the slow burn pays off, even when the last minute it goes into this like break off of sound, no sound, and it feels like an ending, only to come back in heavier. It's an incredible song. What I love is the drums just keep building throughout the song and has more energy and more emotion as you go on. And Sotelo's vocals, which have already been incredible on this album, reach a pinnacle that we've never heard. The fact that he gets to a point where he's hitting an E flat 6 and then eventually a G6, which is absolutely incredible for a male to do, let alone someone who, for the most part, I think the highest note that we've heard so far from him at that point was maybe a D6 and E flat 6. He's done so much work on his voice, and it pays off on this song. It is one of the more incredible vocal performances that I've heard from a rock performer, and it's such a cool song to listen to. I can't gush enough about it. If anything, take a listen to that song. Even if you're not a Periphery fan or don't really like this particular type of music, the vocals on here are just that incredible and that emotional that you can listen to a 9-minute song and be fine with it. The fact that this is one of my favorite songs of the year and it's a 9-minute song means something to me. So, musically fantastic, and it has so many diverse ideas on here. I love the use of chromatic approaches in the melody that are brought on by some very interesting chord progressions. The drumming on here is fantastic because of the diversity of sound. Even when you get songs that are more screaming together, clumped up, and then songs that are more clean vocals together, it doesn't bother me that much that there is maybe a couple songs together of the same caliber because of the diversity in sound. They have always been great with guitar lines, but because of diversity in sound, you get a song like Sentient Glow where it's more thrash metal guitar. You get a song like It's Only Smiles where it's more flowing. You get more genty sounds like in Reptile and like in Garden of the Bones. And you also get something a little bit more reverby and echoey and time-lapsey in Satellites. Every song has something interesting to latch onto, even if every song is not great. So that, to me, is a plus. Lyrically, this album has a lot of great ideas going for it. A lot of the songs are about the human population's effect on the world and how we can change to be better. Songs like Reptile looks at the worst case scenario where there's an apocalypse caused by nature to cleanse the world from the evils of humans. There's Crush, which is talking about the human race becoming stagnant and trying to change our ways to prepare for a better future for our better generations. Gardens in the Bone are about the fluidity of life and death and trying to make a mark on the world that we honestly don't get to keep. And the capstone of that is Satellites, which is from the perspective of Mother Earth, telling her children to stop hurting her so that she can make the world a better place. But you also get some more in-your-face, gory, bloody, like, of course, metal songs. Songs like Blood Eagle, which is talking about a Viking ritual used to kill their enemies. You get Church Burner, which seems to be talking about burning and killing heretics and non-believers. And then you also get a couple more introspective songs like It's Only Smiles, which is dealing with the passing of Sotelo's sister and him trying to go on with life with a smile even though he's hurting inside. There's Follow Your Ghost, which is talking about the nature of celebrity and about celebrity suicide and, you know, how with celebrity suicides you kind of be raised up on a more of a pinnacle because of your artwork. You also get Sentient Glow, which is talking about the nihilistic natures of humans and depression and, you know, not really feeling like wanting to be part of the world, but yet trying to cling on to people that they care about in the world that they created and always fighting that struggle. Honestly, a phenomenal album. I will say my gripes are Follow Your Ghost Crush, Sentinel, not the most interesting of songs, or songs that don't always pan out the way that other songs do. And Reptile is a little bit long, but honestly, every song is solid. I can definitely recommend this album to a lot of people. Definitely Periphery fans, as well as progressive metal, metalcore fans, gent fans. You will enjoy this. You might find some of the more mainstream or approachable songs laughable, but I personally enjoy them a lot. For people who aren't really in this but want to get into it, an intro song like Reptile might be a little bit hard to start with, as well as Satellites being a 9-minute song, that might also be a little bit hard. So my suggestion would be start with Blood Eagle, go all the way down, and then end with Reptile. Maybe that will help you approach that song a little bit better. So me personally, one of the better albums of the year so far, easily in my top 5 at the moment. So that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoy this album, and if you do, give this video a like. Let me know what you hate or love about the album. Share this with your friend. Most importantly, subscribe to my channel if you do enjoy these videos and me talking to you about new things to listen to. The best way you can help out is by subscribing, so I can make bigger and better content. So tomorrow I will be back with the 6th part of Digging Through Discographies with Stone Temple Pilots as we go over the first self-titled album, Stone Temple Pilots. But until then, this is The Music Fan, and I am signing off.